Alright, let's continue our adventure through the chapter 11 of book of John. So Jesus gets word that Lazarus is sick, and he tells the disciples he's asleep, and the disciples say, well, let him sleep. That means he's going to get better. And Jesus says, no, he's dead. So the disciples make a decision that they will go with Jesus to die. So, we are now in verse number 17. Verse number 17. Then when Jesus came, he found that he had lain in the grave 4 days already. So, likely, he was dead by the time he already received word that Lazarus was sick. Okay, already 4 days, Lazarus is dead. Now Bethany was nigh unto Jerusalem, about 15 furlongs off. A furlong is about 1/8 of a mile. What's a mile? I don't know how long a furlong is in kilometers. A 16th? I don't know. Okay, but a furlong is 1/8 of a mile. Whatever 1/8 of a mile is in kilometers, I don't know. But it's about 2 miles from Bethany to Jerusalem. So that's about, what is 2 miles in kilometers? Maybe 3 kilometers, a little more than 3 kilometers. Okay? Verse 19. And many of the Jews came to Martha and Mary to comfort them concerning their brother. Then Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, went and met him, but Mary sat still in the house. So, we learned before that Martha is the one that was always busy working. And Mary would say, hey Martha, let's not be too busy working. Let's learn from Jesus and hear his teaching. And then we can go back to doing the laundry and the dishes. And the lesson there is don't be too consumed and too busy doing things when there are spiritual things to be done. Okay, the physical things come second in priority. Right? So in other words, if you were saying, well, I got to go to work today. Well, if you got to go to work and you got to go to church, which one are you going to pick? Mary might say church. Martha might say work. And Jesus says, you got to do the spiritual thing, Martha. Forget about the physical things. Don't be so busy to lose focus. So here we see that Jesus is coming and it's announced. How excited are the disciples at this point? Not very excited. If you were the disciples, you kind of want to sneak over to Bethany, put your hands on his head, Lazarus arise, and then sneak back out where it's safe. But here comes Jesus, hey messenger, go tell Mary and Martha, we are coming. Here comes Jesus. He's getting closer to Bethany, not far from Jerusalem, and guess who is there to greet him? Here in verse number 19 it says, many of the Jews. Do you think that the disciples like that word many? No, because what happens if there's many people where they are going? It means it's not going to be a secret anymore. Right? If I tell you all a secret, how long do you think it's going to stay secret if I tell all of you? Not very long. It says many of the Jews were there to comfort Mary and Martha. And so they hear Jesus is coming. So Mary is the one this time. Mary stays in the house. And this time Martha learns her lesson and says, I need to go to where Jesus is. Not busy doing something else. You need to go with him. Go see him. What about Mary? Stayed in the house. Good decision or bad decision? It's always a bad decision to stay far from the presence of the Lord. So Martha said, I learned my lesson. I'm not going to be busy doing other things. If Christ is here, I'm going to be in his presence. So she leaves the house and she goes to the direction that Jesus is coming. It says that Martha, as soon as, verse 20, heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him. But Mary sat still in the house. Then said Martha unto Jesus, Lord, if. Lord, if. How am I going to finish this sentence? How are we going to finish this sentence? We're going to pray and talk to the Lord. Dear Lord, our Father in heaven, how are you going to answer that in prayer? Are you going to make a deal with God? Are you going to tawad with God? Are you going to bargain with God? I don't think so. God, if you take care of my family, I will serve you the rest of my life. God, if you just make sure that I always have clothes and dental provision, I will serve you my whole life. No. God doesn't say, all right, 50-50, 60-40. God, I will give you 70% if you do 30%. God says, I don't bargain with you. We don't go to God and say, hey God, let's do that. Martha comes to the Lord and she says, Lord, if. There's no if in God. Oh, if you were here. Oh, if you would do this, then I will. Oh, if only you had. No if. God's not saying, oh, you know what? Bartholomew, I should have just let him sleep and he would have been fine. No, there's no if. Jesus knows what's happening. He knows what's going on. Martha says to Jesus, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. Well, in English we would say, well, la-di-da-di-da. Is that Tagalog or is that English? I don't know.
I don't know.
You don't say that in the Philippines?
No.
So if someone is mouthy to you, you know, if you weren't such a stupid pig, then maybe we would have more food to eat for everyone else. And someone might say, well, la-di-da-di-da. So it means, who do you think you are, Martha? To come and talk to Jesus, the God that created you, and say to his face, my brother's dead because you were not here. She's blaming God that her brother was dead. She said, Jesus, you messed up. You tarried there for 2 days. You should have hurried back here. He's your friend that you love. If you would have been here, you could have touched him and healed him. Now it's too late. Who does she remind you of? Remember this morning? Who was the bad guy in the story this morning? The disciples. Why? Because they don't have faith, because they don't believe. Jesus could have healed him with a thought. He didn't need to put his hand on him. Could have healed him from where he was at. But we know why Lazarus got sick. It was so that he could be raised from the dead for the glory of the Lord. We know that. So Jesus hears Martha and she's angry at him. And Martha, if anyone knows the power of God, is Martha and the disciples. So those whom he has trained closely and personally and intimately, these are the ones that when their faith is tested, they break. They break like a Sunday ice cream machine at a McDonald's. They break and they never work. That's what Martha is right to Jesus. Jesus is saying, Martha, you know better. You know I have power to heal. You know I've raised the dead. You've heard the stories. If you're not with me, you know I walked on water. You know these things. Martha, come on, even you? Yeah, Peter, I expected. James. Yeah, I expect Martha, you too. You're the one that came out to meet me. Mary's the one that stayed in the house. You learned your lesson from the last time. And now I'm here and fell short. Faith was not strong enough. And notice the tone. Notice the bad vibes. Said Jesus, my brother's dead and it's your fault. Verse 22. But I know that even now, whatsoever thou wilt ask of God, God will give it thee. Jesus saith unto her, thy brother shall rise again. What does it sound like? It sounds like Mary says, but I know, Lord, I know that you could even raise him from the dead. Sounds like it. She says, Jesus, my brother Lazarus is dead because you were not here. But I know that whatever you want from God, you can get it. And Jesus says, oh, good, Martha. So you do realize I can raise him from the dead. Is that what you are saying, Martha? Thy brother shall rise again. I'm telling you, you know that, right? Sounds like Martha is saying to Jesus, I know you can do this. I know you can raise him from the dead. And then Martha thinks about all her theological training she got at Bible college. And she says, verse 24, Martha said to him, I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Okay, Lazarus will not rise in the last day. His body will. Okay? Lazarus is going to come back for his body. Lazarus, his soul, was already in paradise at this time. And he was going to be resurrected with his body just minutes or hours from this time. And Martha said, yeah, I know. One day he'll be resurrected, Jesus. I know. But that's cold comfort while I am mourning his death and I missed him. So Martha missed it. The disciples missed it. Jesus said unto her, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Believest thou this? She saith unto him, Yea, Lord, I believe that thou art the Christ, the Son of God, which is come into the world. Is that the question he asked? He says, I'm the resurrection and the life. I control life and death. I have the power over life. I have the power over death. I'm the creator God of this universe. Do you believe me, Martha? Do you believe I will raise up Lazarus? And she says, I know you're the Christ. She's not wrong, but that's not the question. The question is to be more blunt, more frank. Martha, can I raise Lazarus from the dead today? And when she had so said, she went her way and called Mary her sister secretly, saying, The Master is come and calleth for thee. Martha leaves, goes back to the house, and says, Shh, Mary, quietly go to Jesus. Why quietly? Why secretly? Yeah, because of the many Jews. And the more that the people know that Jesus is there, the more the disciples start sweating. Verse 29. As soon as she heard that, she arose quickly and came unto him. Now Jesus was not yet come into the town, but was in that place where Martha met him. The Jews then, which were with her in the house, and comforted her, when they saw Mary, as she rose up hastily and went out, hastily means quickly, followed her, saying, She goeth unto the grave to weep there. Oops. So here's the disciples. Jesus, sit down. No, sit there behind the rock. Not on the rock, behind it. And there's a tree. I'm going to go sit behind it. You're kind of lying low. And Jesus said, Martha, go get Mary. Mary says, Shh, quietly, Mary. Come see Jesus. He's sitting on the rock. So Mary goes out quickly, and then all the Jews say, Mary's going to the grave to weep there. Let's follow her. And so they do. Then when Mary was come where Jesus was and saw him, she fell down at his feet. Now verse 12, or chapter 12, she's going to fall down at Jesus' feet again. But this time she's going to do it with repentance. Verse 12, she falls down at her feet. Or chapter 11 here, verse 32, when she falls down at Jesus' feet is different. We won't have time. Saying unto him, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. It's like Mary and Martha were talking. And Mary says to Martha, you know what, Martha? If Jesus had been here, and Martha says, he would not have died. And Mary says, you finished my sentence for me, sister. They both had that same line, already rehearsed and practiced. Whose fault is it that Lazarus is dead? It's Jesus' fault. Still Christ, still love him, but if he'd been here, if you really truly love Lazarus, remember they sent a messenger, and the messenger said, hey, the one that you love is sick. Whom thou lovest. So they're kind of hinting to Jesus, I know it's been 4 months, but Lazarus is sick. He is the one you love. Don't forget. You don't want him to die. When Jesus therefore saw her weeping, and the Jews also weeping, which came with her, he groaned in the spirit and was troubled. Why was he troubled? Why was he groaning? You too? What was he groaning about? What was he groaning about? Yeah, because they don't understand. They don't have the belief, the faith, that he has the power to raise him from the dead. The disciples disappointed him. Then Martha disappoints him. And now here comes Mary, the more spiritual of the two. And Mary says, no, if you had been here. And Jesus says, yes. I know. Martha told me already. You don't need to finish the line. I've already done. So then he groaned in the spirit and said, verse 34, where have ye laid him? They said unto him, Lord, come and see. Jesus wept. I know people say this is the shortest verse in the Bible. It's not. Rejoice evermore is the shortest verse in the Bible. In Greek, but when the Bible was written, there's no verses or chapters. So, tomato, tomato. What was Jesus weeping about? What made Jesus groan in his spirit? What made him sad? What made him troubled? Their unbelief. Now some people say, well, Jesus wept because soon he was going to raise his friend Lazarus out of paradise back onto this filthy earth. Well, the context here is he wept. Why? After the disciples had shown disbelief, and you guys don't believe. Then Martha comes. Well, you can do anything, God. You're the Christ. You can do anything. Can I raise Lazarus back from the dead? No, you can't. Then here comes Mary. Mary, did anything to say to me? Yeah, my brother's dead because of you. Jesus realizes all of these people that were trained, the leaders. And what are they doing? They're saying, I cannot believe that Jesus would be able to raise Lazarus from the dead. Verse 36, then said the Jews, behold how he loved him. They got it wrong. Jesus was not crying because he missed Lazarus. Oh, we're going to see him again. We're going to see him again in a few minutes. Not why he's crying. But the Jews saw Jesus and said, oh, he's crying because he missed Lazarus. Crying because you think I'm crying about Lazarus. That's why he's crying. I'm crying. Why are you crying? Because you think I'm crying about Lazarus. I'm crying because you think that. I'm crying because of your unbelief. Verse 37, and some of them said, could not this man, which opened the eyes of the blind, have caused that even this man should not have died? Aha! They are onto something. They're saying, a few months ago, Jesus caused a blind man to see. And they tried to stone him, and we never saw him again. And now, until now, he's back. This is the same guy that can cause the blind to see. I wonder if he could have healed Lazarus before he died. If they had wondered just a little bit more, gone a little bit farther, dug a little bit deeper, they will find out. Yes, he could have, and he could even raise him from the dead. But of all the many Jews, and the disciples, and Mary, and Martha, none of them took the hammer and hit the nail right on the head. None of them said, Jesus, you can raise him from the dead. 38, Jesus therefore again, groaning in himself. Why? Because of the disbelief, the unbelief. Groaning in himself, coming to the grave. It was a cave, and a stone lay upon it. Jesus said, take ye away the stone. Martha, the sister of him that was dead, said unto him, Lord, by this time he stinketh, for he hath been dead 4 days. Martha, Martha, Martha. Even when Jesus said, roll the stone away, that was the time where you would think it would click. Hey, now I get what he's doing. I've seen him raise the dead before. Why can't he raise the dead after even 4 days? He's done it when they just died. He's done it after maybe a couple days. Why can't he do it after 4 days? But Martha said, no, don't roll the stone away. He stinks by now. Nothing you can do. In our life, when we look to Christ, what can you do, Christ? What can you do in my life? A lot of times, Christ said, I can do so much. I can raise, there's so much potential in us. But the stone has not been rolled away. We've got a stone over our heart, and we say, God, I can't hear your voice. Because there's a stone blocking Christ talking to us. That stone is when we don't read our Bible. Okay. When you don't read your Bible, the stone is blocking God's voice from reaching you. God has something to tell you. God has a will for your life. And guess where you're going to find it? Right here. You're not going to find it in Our Daily Bread, the Baptist Devotional, series number 34, section 32, today's date. Read your Bible. Forget about the daily devotional. Forget about this plan or that one. Just take the Bible and just read it. And God's going to be able to communicate to you and give you direction and His will in your life. Amen. But if you don't roll that stone away with this book, He's not going to have any message for you. He's not going to use you. You are now alive to Him. And you might be saved spiritually, but living for Him or just living. Depends where that stone is. Some of us have rolled that stone over our heart and it stays there. And God says, I've got something great for you. But you're never going to find out what it is. You'll never know till heaven what I could have done with you. Why? Because we forgot to roll away the stone. We got too busy to take our Bible and say, Lord, what is it for me? What would you have for me, for your will, for my life, forever, for my future, and for my life today? Because there's a stone in it. Jesus says, roll the stone away. Verse 40, then saith, Jesus saith unto her, looking at Martha now, Martha's like, no, don't do it. Jesus says, Martha, said I not unto thee, that if thou wouldst believe, thou shouldest see the glory of God? Jesus said, Martha, I told you all you have to do believe. Martha said, but there's a stone, and he's dead, and he stinks, and it's for 4 days, and you weren't here, and there's the mourners and everybody. You know, we could do what Martha does, and we do. We could give all the reasons why God can't do something with your life. God, you can't use me. You can't do it. Because of this and because of that. Everyone agrees. Can't do it. You know what really stops us is that we don't give God a chance. We don't give Him a chance. We don't give Him the opportunity to do something with you. You know why? Because we don't step out. Joel, you preached on Wednesday? And I heard you mention something about launch out into the deep, right? Yeah. What if they did not launch out into the deep? Think they would have caught fish? No. What if they said, the deep, I can't walk, I'm not a good swimmer, and I drown. I can't go out into the deep. I'm not going to catch fish. There's a reason why God can't use you, is because you're not giving Him an opportunity. You're robbing and you're stealing from God. You know what you're stealing and robbing from God? Your life. Because you belong to Him. And God says, now that you're mine, I bought you, I paid for you with my blood. And now I own you. And your desire is now to please me. And now here's what I want you to do. And you say, no, God, I'm going to steal back what you rightfully bought, and I'm going to take it back for my own self. I'm going to live how I think I should live. And God says, look, there's something that you could do, it's so great, but you don't know what it is until you try. If you say, God, I don't think. I used to, on my way home from work, I would knock on a door. On my way home from work, I would knock on a door. And I say, if you die today, when you die, are you sure you're going to heaven? I would say, if you were to stand before God, why should He allow you to come into His house? That's all I would do. I would knock on a door. They would open the door on my way home from work, and I would say, why would God allow you into His house? I could have said, you know what, God, they're just going to close the door. They're just going to lie. They're just going to tell me to go away. But I don't know that until what? Until I knock on the door. Funny was, I did that, and my classmate from elementary, junior high, and high school, I knocked on his door. I never knew that that was his house. He did not live far from me. I knocked on his house, and I didn't recognize him. He's a lost man. It's a Christian school. He claims to be saved. He has long hair like some sort of drug addict. He answers the door, and I don't recognize him. And I said, if you were to stand before God, why should God allow you to do that? What would you say? And then he started to laugh. He said, hey, don't you know who I am? I am Evangelist. I don't know what his name was. I forget. I went to school with you. And I said, oh, yeah, of course. I always wondered, what happened with those words that he knew. He knew exactly what I was talking about. He knows about the judgment seat of Christ. And I believe one day he's going to stand before God. I hope as a saved person, he's going to say, God, thank you for sending that guy to knock on my door. You know what I expected? I expected no one to answer the door. But he did. He opened the door. And because I don't recognize it, I'm able to get out of that question. But one day, maybe he never got saved. One day, God's going to say, I sent someone. He knocked on your door. He asked you the same question I'm asking you now. Why should I allow you to come into my house? God can use him. If you were to do something like that, say, you know what? On the way home from work, I'm going to miss one person in traffic. On the way home from work, I'm going to knock on one door. That's it. If they don't open the door, I'm going to run it back as fast as I can and just run home, and no one will ever know I even knocked on the door. You don't know what's going to happen if you knock on that door. You don't know what's going to happen if you give up some tracts. You don't know what's going to happen. But you say, I have a good idea. What's probably going to happen is no one will enter the door. If they do, they're going to be polite and say, thank you, I'm not interested, have a nice day. That's probably what's going to happen. But how do you know? You know what's going to happen if you don't knock on the door? The answer is yes, you do know what's going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. So you can say, if I knock on the door, nothing might happen. If I don't knock on the door, nothing will happen. Give God a chance, just a small shot. You got a little crack with a little bit of light, and say, God, I'm just going to do a little bit thing here for you. Just knock on the door, talk to some people here, and if you want to do something with it, great. If you don't, then I won't be late for supper. Also great. Give God a chance. Jesus said to Mary, Mary, chillax. Roll the stone away. Give me a chance to glorify myself by the death of your brother. I told you, Martha, that I'm going to glorify him. He's here. He died that he might bring me glory. Now sit down, be quiet, and just let me do what I'm supposed to do. That's what we need to do sometimes. Just let God use us how he wants to use you. Don't overthink it. Don't make it complicated. Well, what if I say the wrong thing? Well, what if I knock on the door and I don't know what to say? Well, what if they ask me a question and then I really don't, I get it wrong, and then they'll never get saved and they'll never go to church, and just knock on the door. Just give God a chance. Well, if I turn this job down because I got to be in church, what if I starve to death and die? But guess what? You're going to die anyway. May as well do it. Starving to death and letting God kill you by starving to death. If you really think God will do that, I don't think so, but if you do, then starve to death and die. Wouldn't that be great to go to heaven? So how did you die? Cancer? Boring, everybody dies of cancer. So how did you die? I starved to death because I refused to take a job, because I wanted to be in church. Because of that financial decision, I starved to death and died. I would stand to my feet and say, good for you. That brought God glory. Now, if you actually think that God is going to let you starve to death and die of starvation, that's still fine. But between me and you, I can't claim it from the Bible. Just as I know the Lord, you're not going to starve to death. May coming to church not going to cause you to die from starvation. Could be wrong. Can't claim a promise that says you won't starve to death and die, but just knowing the Lord, I don't think you're going to starve to death and die. Okay. All right, so they took the stone away. Verse 43, and when he thus had spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. And he that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot with great clothes, and his face was bound about with a napkin. Jesus saith unto them, Loose him, and let him go. Some of us, a lot of I've heard this in context of salvation, but I want us to think of it as believers here today. That we are like Lazarus. We're bound hand and foot with a cloth around our head. We can't see, we can barely feel, we can hardly even walk. We're just like babies crawling around. And Jesus said, come on, Lazarus. I've got a plan for you. I've got something that you can do. You can be the guy that tells everyone, hey, I was one that was dead, and now I'm alive. How is he going to do that if he stays in the tomb? How is he going to do that if he has his eyes blindfolded and his hands and his legs bound? A lot of us as Christians today are living like we are still bound, and he's tied up hand and foot. Okay? And we live our Christian life like this. Hands bound, feet bound, completely blind, and I'm going to jump off here, and you tell me when I'm about to jump, okay? Keep going? Keep going? Keep going? I was about to go. Thank you, whoever stopped me. That's how we live our life. Live our life with our hands tied behind our back, with our eyes closed. All we have to do is just take off the blindfold and say, okay, God, I see it. I'm on my way. Break out of those cords. Break loose, break free. Rise and go for it. And that's a victorious Christian life. If you want victory, take off those stinking death burial clothes. Those smells like death, smells like sin. Reminds you of hell and the grave. Move that out of your life. Cleanse your life. Remove it and say, okay, God, now I see. I can see through your word what is your will for my life, and let God have the opportunity to use you for his calling. How many of you here, show of hands, how many of you here have fulfilled God's calling for your life? Correct. How many of you here are living the life absolutely that God had planned for you? Me neither. You know what God's best is for me? I don't know. I blew it a long time ago. You know what God's second best for me is? I don't know. I blew that too a long time ago. But I can tell you today that the rest of my life, as I live, I know that he has something for me. Now it's cliche, but I'm never going to find it. I'm never going to live it. I'm never going to know it. I'm never going to see it. And touch it. And unblock my feet and walk to it. If I don't remove the stain of the old man and death until I put that behind me. And say, okay, God, I don't care anymore. If I'm rich, if I'm poor, it's fine. If I have food, if I have no food, it doesn't matter. If I live, if I die. If I have cancer, if I don't. If I have a bad heart, I could die at any minute from a heart attack, or if I have the greatest heart that anyone ever had. And it's going to beat for 100 more years. It does not matter. You don't matter. I don't matter. What matters is that we bring glory to God. If you live your whole life saying, wish I could just do this, but I'm afraid what he's going to think of me. You're never going to find out what God could use you for. Can't take this. I have to stay and go to college. Because if I don't go to college, I can't get a job. I have to go to college. I have to take this job. I can't go to church. I have to provide. I have to make money. I have to do this. And the cares of this world will tie us, our hands and our feet, and it will blind us. And we'll never find out what was it that God had for me. What was it that God had for Lazarus? that he might rise from the dead and come forth out of that grave and say, hey guys, look at me. I'm the one that was dead and now I'm alive. What a strong, powerful testimony. And God is something like that for you as well. Because you were once dead and now you are alive. Let's go ahead and bow for word.